Hello campers and bushcrafters, I'm Donnie Pavlini of Donnie Pavlini Outdoors. I was tagged by Mr. Homer Mayo to talk about how I choose a bushcraft or survival knife. And I take this tag very seriously. Stay with me. As I understand it, a bushcraft knife physically needs to either have a full tang or not, but has to have a blade length of 3 to 4 inches. And the reason for that is because of being easy to work with to make implements and do fundamental camp tasks, okay, and bushcraft tasks. Now, a survival knife, on the other hand, physically needs to have a blade of about 6 inches or longer, okay, to be considered a survival knife. It definitely needs to be full tang, and a good high carbon steel is recommended for sure. And tell you what, we're going to look at a few of them and let's go a little bit deeper. In terms of survival knives, this was a knife that I made, named it Tarzan. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but Tarzan is just a huge knife. It's in between a machete and a knife, and to me this is a failed experiment. Does it chop well? Yes, it does. Does it do smaller tasks? Not really. This, however, this is the Schrade SCHF 37. It's got a lot of what I'm looking for. It has the ability to chop, has the ability to do finer camp tasks. It is full tang. It's 1095 carbon steel, and as you saw earlier, you can strike it with a piece of flint and produce fire, which is a very key element that's got to be addressed when it comes to a survival knife. The ability to make fire can literally mean life or death. Temperature regulation. The sheath of the knife is equipped with a combustion device. We talked about flint and steel already, but a nice little ferrocerium rod in with the sheath is definitely something that you want to think about. Also, this one is equipped with a diamond stone. It's not the best in the world, but it'll put a good working field edge on this knife. It's not going to be a hair popper, but it'll give you the ability to cut. So the ability to, the sheath needs to have a combustion device and some sort of sharpening system. Now this, moving on to the bushcraft side of things, this is the knife that I got from Tom Chitwood. It's still in the testing phase, but so far I really like it. Blade length, like I say, is about 4 inches, and it's a good knife. This is my beater. This is my everyday carry. It's just a Condor bush lower knife, and it's got about a 4-inch blade or so. Now, this is marketed, of course, by Gerber. It is the Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife. Now, as far as a survival knife goes, I mean, I guess if you want to call it that, I mean, that's fine. It has some of the features that are important to effect survival. It has a full tang with it. It's got a sharpened spine back here to strike the ferrocerium rod that comes in this sheath, and it has a sharpener on it and so forth. But as far as it being a survival knife, in a way it's limited by the length of the blade. The length of the blade, in my opinion, needs to be longer. A bushcraft knife like this is awesome when you go out in the field. It's just, it can't be beat. It's awesome if you have one of these and or one of these. The bushcraft knife's drawback is really its inability to process larger wood for starting fires. But its strength is its ability to do minute little carving tasks, okay? But when you're talking about getting out there and keeping yourself alive, a larger knife, in my view, is preferable. A quote-unquote survival knife, as I said before, will aid in preparing firewood and some other things, and that's its strength. Where it falls short, and it's sharp, it doesn't want to do some of your smaller tasks. In other words, because of how lengthy the blade is, it's not ideal or comfortable to work with doing small, finer, bushcraft type tasks. But that's not what it's for. If you have to go out with, you can only bring one thing, then the survival knife is what you should choose. As far as how do I pick a survival knife, I want a long blade. I want the steel to be where I can strike it with a flint and to be able to, against char cloth, I want it to be able to make fire. I want it to be able to chop. Because of the mass of this knife, it does have the ability to chop, and chop fairly decent. Now, does the survival knife right here, does this knife have the ability to do everything that this does? Yes and no. It can, but it's going to take a long time. And it's not going to be as efficient as the Bushcraft knife with its accompanying tools of a saw and or a hatchet or axe. It can get the job done, but it's pretty much a slow boat to China. There's been a lot of debate, and some people snub their nose at people that insist that their knife, whether it's a survival knife or a bushcraft knife, have a 90-degree spine. They say that putting your thumb this way and working on it and everything else, that the 90-degree spine starts to wear into the fingers, causing discomfort and things like that. In my view, you're not going to be doing it for that long a time. When you're working on it, you're going to be repositioning your hand, your fingers, and things like that. But do I think that a 90-degree spine is important on either a bushcraft or survival knife? And my answer is absolutely yes. For the reason that not only do you need to be able to strike a ferrocerium rod, but another task that's important, in my view, is the ability to scrape. In this case, I've got a big heaping hunk of fat wood here that I'm trying to get some scrapings off of. Okay? It does that very well. Okay? Now, do I want to do that same thing with the business edge of my knife? Risking, well, not really risking, it's going to happen. You're going to dull your knife where it's not going to be so much of an issue with the spine of a knife. So there you go. That's my opinion on that. Is it important to have a 90-degree spine? Absolutely. I would also like to mention that this is just one opinion from one guy. So, is there a one-tool option? One knife that does it all and does it all to perfection, or even with a great margin of success? None that I've seen. So you have to keep in perspective that the tool has to be suited for the job. The survival knife, as I understand it, is if you can have one blade to rely on to survive in the wilderness. That's the one that you need to have. For me, it's the Schrade SCHF 37. For bushcraft, you want a knife that is comfortable to use, has a good grind on it. Scandinavian grind's probably, in my view, one of the best grinds that you can have on a bushcraft knife because of its slicing ability, whereas the survival knife, its grind may be different and more suited for chopping and banging. Both are valid, but they're used in two different scenarios or contexts. Okay? I want to thank Mr. Homer Mayo for tagging me. I want to thank the guys that went before him, Alan with Freedom Bushcraft and Dave Pearson with Big Monkey. Check his video out. It's very enlightening and a lot of intelligent things there. I am charged with tagging 3 more individuals to tell their side of this. And the 3 that I'm going to tag, first of all, I would like to tag 2 knife makers. Okay? First one being Mr. William Collins. I respect William, and I respect the knives that he makes, and a lot of intelligence and thought behind his process. The second one would be Tom Chitwood. Tom Chitwood made my knife, and I have nothing but the highest regard for Tom. And I would be interested in knowing from a knife maker what criteria that they use to make a bushcraft or survival knife. It would be extremely enlightening to me. And the third one would be a bushcrafter that I admire and respect. And that would have to be Mr. Christopher Layton with Wyndham Woodcraft. Guys, I hope that you accept this challenge to just tell your side of it. And we'll be watching. Thank you for joining me for another little video here. My 2 cents worth about the difference and how to choose a bushcraft or survival knife. From Donnie Pavlini to you and yours, as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the woods. Take care.